Hey there, this is Ariella. Um, I just got home from work, and I was, kind of wanting to do like a video, kind of talking about my background, a couple of different topics. Mainly, my background, um, where I came from, my family history, things like that. Um, I was kind of, leaving work today, and I kind of had this on my mind, when I first started transitioning and kind of like trying to discover who I was. I relied a lot on like content creators, people that came before me to basically blaze the path, to see if my situation would relate to them, and how they overcame challenges and whatnot. And I'm thinking about starting a series for the girls or the boys, whatever. Kind of just talking about how I got here. I've been transitioning for about 17 months now, male to female, if you can't tell. um, I kind of just wanted to talk about my journey as a whole, and I come from a really unique background. I was in the Navy for like 9 years, and you know, I think it's important to hear different stories and where people came from and how they got to where they're at, to put things into perspective for certain people, and to let people know that not every path or um, you know how you got to the point of transitioning is the same as everyone else's. It's a dynamic journey. It's life. It's being a human. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe. Yeah, so come sit on the couch with me and let's chat. But yeah, basically, in terms of my background, I my dad was my dad was a career Navy guy. He did 25 years in the Navy. Um, so we moved a lot. Um, my parents met in Orlando, Florida, and my mom got pregnant with me, and basically they got married out of wedlock. I've got three other siblings. I have a brother and two sisters. We were all super close growing up because we moved so much, um, that we, kind of relied on each other for community, and to pick up the shortcomings of not having a ton of friends and relocating all the time. And yeah, we were, I would say we were really close family growing up, super close. Um, yeah, we kind of grew up everywhere. I've lived in Maryland, Texas, Florida. I think we were in Mississippi for a bit, Washington, California, Hawaii, two different times, Maryland a couple of different times. Yeah, my mom, both my parents grew up Baptist, so religion was, super big deal while we were little. um, um, yeah, just moving a bunch of times. We changed schools. There were some years where like I feel like I went to like three different schools in a school year. Um, I think it's important to talk about that because I feel like later in life I've realized a lot of things about myself because of that tenure of like moving a lot and like relocating, and kind of the strengths that would provide somebody, but also like I feel like there's drawbacks to that, right? Like growing up as a kid, and I wouldn't say it was an unstable environment, but it there wasn't. I mean, stability. You can't say stability of moving 15 times as a kid in the same sentence, right? Like, um, those things. I don't think those two things can coexist. Like, I think your family environment can be stable, but um, like just inherently moving and the stresses that causes a kid, like it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. But through that time, I was always like very active with sports. I started off playing soccer. I didn't really have an option. Like I was gonna do sports. Like my dad grew up and he played sports his whole life, and I was his firstborn son, so I was playing sports. I started off playing soccer. Um, and then I kind of got coerced, or like, I was interested in playing football. So I ended up playing football. Um, I think my first year playing football was like 10, and I played it all the way up until college. um, yeah, I kind of love football, honestly. Like, it was a fun sport. I played baseball too. I didn't really like baseball. Baseball was boring as fuck, so um, I hated it. But football was fun. Not gonna lie, I really had fun playing that. Um, Good times. But kind of through all that, moving a lot. Um, there was gender stuff always present for me. It was kind of always in the background. I wouldn't say it was like very prevalent, but like there were things that like I was interested in doing. Like I used to cross dress. Um, I would wear my mom's stuff when they weren't home. Um, I definitely I definitely did that. I can sit here and say that, like, I had this like undying wish as a kid to be a girl. I had this weird abstract, I guess, idealization of like what gender even was then. I don't even know if I necessarily even perceived my own gender as male. It was kind of weird. I just like I didn't understand like there was male and female, and those two things were separate. There was a situation that happened when I was real little. We like went to one of my dad's like command work parties or something like that, and I think it was like 5. Honestly, this is like one of my first memories from like being a little kid. I don't remember anything else from this period of time, but we went to this party, and like there was it was like a dress up thing. Like it was a bunch of little kids there, and I was super little, and I was playing with all the kids, and the girls were dressing up like princesses, just playing dress up. Um, and I wanted to dress up, but I wasn't allowed because I was a boy. And I like legitimately think that that was like my first run in with gender, and like having an adverse reaction, or just not really understanding like why I couldn't do something because of my gender. But like it kind of fucked me up. Like it was a thing. Like I ended up like kind of making a scene and like pulled my pants down, and like everyone kind of thought it was like boy being a boy, and like just like being a boy. But like I think it was just like I just didn't understand the concept of gender. Um, but yeah, it ended up becoming this like running joke, like, oh, Andrew, my dead name. I'm gonna probably refer to myself by my dead name a little bit, because for a long time I was that person. But my name was Andrew then, and my dad would be like, oh, Andrew pulled his pants down at a party, like everyone thought it was hilarious. Later on, I kind of was just like, yeah, maybe that was probably a fucking sign. um, but yeah, I was just too little. But yeah, we moved around a lot. I used to play, I would like occasionally play dress up with my sister, but there was always this, preconceived notation in my family. It was just like, like being Baptist and things like that. There was no way that I could have come out as a kid, or like even expressed that like more than just like playing with my just playing dress up or any of that stuff. It was inconceivable. I couldn't even like think about it, but like it was always there. um that first time, and then like I mean all the way up through high school, I was always like cross-dressing or doing shit that wasn't shit that little boys would do. When I could like get some free time in a family of like 6. I remember there was times in high school where like I would shave my legs, to shave my legs, and I would say, oh yeah, it's so I can get my ankles taped for football, but like I was shaving my leg, like I wanted to shave my legs to look more feminine. I just didn't like understand it. Super weird. But yeah, I mean, it was always there, and like kind of as I got older, I discovered computer games and shit like that, and I don't know. I feel like there was a conscious decision at some point where it was like, if I play video games, I don't have to think about this. So I played video games a lot. I played World of Warcraft. I was like super addicted to World of Warcraft, and like it's like, yeah, if I play video games, I never have to think about gender. I never have to think about wanting to be a girl. I don't have to think about how disgusting this makes me feel, or like ashamed this makes me feel. Um, I could just, detach myself from the real world and put myself in this fantasy world, run around as a fucking night elf, and just not have to worry about how I would totally fuck my life up if people found out about this. So, yeah, that's what I fucking did. My parents hated it. It was awful. Yeah, I guess right around the time I became a teenager, it was definitely like, I don't, I didn't really feel safe, in the environment. Like, it was really hostile and like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like I was like comfortable at home. Like I ended up after high school, I ended up going to play college football for a little bit, and like that didn't work out at all. But I came home after like the first semester, or like halfway through the first semester. I don't even remember. I wasn't there that long, um, and like everything had changed with my dad. My dad was just like, I was definitely like at that point I was living my dad's dreams. I was living out my dad's dreams of like doing football. I didn't really give a fuck. Um, like it was fun to play, but like I got to a point where I was just like, dude, I'm not at this level of physical specimen, so like I can't compete with these people. And I was super homesick. I was playing football in California, and my family was in Maryland. It was the first time I'd ever really been away from home. And like I just got tired of not being with people that I knew. Like I mean, I didn't grow up with friends because I mean we moved so much, and by the time that rolled around, I was just like, dude, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I just want to like be somewhere fucking stable, and I want to have fucking friends, and like I just want, I don't want this. So I ended up coming home, fucking fucked that all up, and my dad low-key hated me for the fucking rest of my life because of that. But yeah, so I came home, tried to do the community college bit, didn't really work out. I have ADHD really bad, and yeah, I just wasn't really into it. Um, so I was like, fuck, I gotta get out of here because um, working a part-time bullshit job at a retail store fucking sucked, and I didn't want to go to school. And my dad was like, you gotta get the fuck out of my house. Like it was horrible, like it was not fun. So I ended up enlisting in the Navy, joined the Navy. Didn't really know what else to fucking do, so joined the Navy. And I was like, at least if I like do something really hardcore in the Navy, maybe my dad will respect me, and I could prove to myself that I don't want to be a woman. Sneak peek, that doesn't work out, but I gave it a college try. I ended up joining the Navy, and I actually enlisted into the Navy with a BUDS contract, so basic underwater demolition school, I think is what it's called. And I went through this, I went through boot camp, did the stuff, passed all the entry tests, physical tests, got in, and I'm going through boot camp. And then after boot camp, I went into this other training called BUDS Prep. And I was at Great Lakes for like 2 months. I think we were BUDS Prep for like 2 months. It was basically just like the most hardcore fucking physical training that I've ever done in my life. Did that for like 2 months. And yeah, ended up going out to BUDS, and didn't really last long there either. I just like I wasn't in it for the right reasons. Like I think I wanted to prove something to my dad more than I wanted to prove it to myself. And my mind, I didn't care. I just like, it wasn't me. So that didn't work out, failed out of that. And I was like super sick afterwards. And like, I basically went to a holding facility and was just like recovering from pneumonia, and like had a fucking bald spot on my head and these fucking gigantic blisters. I didn't talk to my mom or my dad for like a month straight because I was just so embarrassed. Yeah, that happened. So like when that happens in the Navy, you basically go to the fleet, what they call the fleet, right? Like ships. You go to the ships and you don't have a job, even though I had a like crazy high ASVAB. So basically I went undesignated to the fleet, where I ended up chipping rust and paint, sanding, painting, and a bunch of other bullshit for like 9 years. It was fucking miserable. And because I like enlisted into BUDS, I got locked into a 6-year contract. There was no way out of it. Even though I didn't fail, or even though I didn't pass, my contract stayed. So I was locked in 6 fucking years. Standard contract is 4. So I was like, oh fuck, I'm fucked. Basically, I'm fucked. And kind of felt like I was in prison at that point. I was like, I'm fucking trapped. There's no way, like, there's no way around this. So I, went to the fleet, and basically my ship was deployed, and I they just sent me straight out to the Middle East. I went out to Bahrain and met my ship, and I was like, I mean, at this point, like, I hadn't expected at all to go to a ship. Like, I was like, I'll never see the fleet because I'm gonna be a Navy SEAL. I'll never see the fleet. That did not happen. And I remember walking aboard and I was like, oh fuck, dude, this is gonna be miserable. And it was so bad. But I mean, you get locked in, baby, you can't go nowhere. So I definitely wasn't gonna go anywhere being trapped out on the ocean. So yeah, I met everybody and I was like, man, this fucking sucks. I had 5 years there. So I was just like, well, I gotta make rank, I gotta make more money, and like I'm competitive and motivated and try to make the best of a shitty situation, every shitty situation. So quickly after that, I was like, whatever, I'm gonna strike bosun's mate, which is a rate, it's a job in the Navy, just so I can start putting on rank, because as an undesignated seaman, you can't go higher than E3. So bosun mates were like the official rating for what I do. So that was the path of least resistance to start making more money. So did that. I was pretty good at it because I played football. I was like, I've always had this kind of like commanding presence and leadership style. So like it was kind of like, it was really easy for me to excel, and I'm smart. So it worked out. I ended up making E5 within like 3 years. And I got to do some kind of cool stuff. Before I got to my ship, I went to a search and rescue school to like get qualified in search and rescue swimmer. And I only really took that because it was going to keep me off my boat for like a month. So that's why I did that. But I was a really good swimmer. So I did that. I got to hang out with my friends for like 4 weeks in Jacksonville and just basically swim in a pool. It was pretty cool. So I came to my boat. I was search and rescue swimmer qualified, and I think about 2 years of me being there, they sent me to a security alpha school, which is like a specialized security school. It was pretty cool because you like shoot like sim paintballs at each other. And VBSS school, Vessel Board Search and Seizure, which is like anti-piracy stuff. And I got qualified as a coxswain for our 11-meter rib, which was awesome. I love that. That was so much fun. I basically would just drive boats. Like we'd be out to sea and like on deployment, they'd put me down. I'd like drive around my boat and do stupid shit. So that was pretty cool. So the Navy. Sorry, I have ADHD. So yeah, I did that for 5 years. During all of that time, I was like, gender stuff was still there. It wasn't as prevalent in the beginning because I was just so preoccupied and like boot camp early on in my career. I was just so busy. I didn't have time to think about anything else. But I mean, it was always there. Like it's just this underlying feeling of me being different, really, and like not really fitting in with the boys. And like maybe a lot of that was in my head. I don't really know, but it kind of felt that way to me. And especially like once I got to my ship and like we got off a deployment, I was like, fucking making a Craigslist and doing degenerate shit on Craigslist, trying to find guys and like dressing up like we don't want to talk about that. I never really met them, but I would tease them and they would validate me. But then like I would always be like, fucking disgusting. What the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I doing this? But it was just like this, I had this propensity to do it. Like I could not do it. It was so weird. But yeah, and up like during that time, I met a couple of trans girls and like, did shit with them. And like, I just like, I would have these moments and like, I would repress like, oh, that didn't happen. Like there's no way this is me. There's no way that's my life. But like, I was always drawn to it, you know, like it was like unavoidable for me. Um, but yeah, I ended up, you know, I did that for a while. I did 2 deployments. They're like both like 9-month cruises. That fucking sucked. Um, I ended up re-enlisting at 4 years. I think I was eligible for re-enlistment at like 4 years or something. Right. What I did was extend. I can't remember because I had a 6-year contract. So there was like there was kind of a way I could get around it, but I had to re-enlist. So at my 5-year mark, because I had to do 6, I was eligible to re-enlist. So I re-enlisted for an additional 3 and then got a $12,000 bonus. At the time, I didn't really know what the fuck else I was gonna do, and I was getting ready to catch a shore duty, so which is like super easy work. And I was like, fuck it, $12,000 just to basically do nothing for the next 3 years, whatever. So that's why I did, and that's kind of why I ended up at 9 years. So got to my 5, caught a shore duty, went to this place called Marmac. It's in Norfolk. If you're stationed on the West Coast, you're in the Navy, you probably heard of it. Did shitty bosunmate weight test shit there, and hated it. It was miserable. I was deeply depressed. I put on a shit ton of weight. Started having like a lot of dysphoria. Before that, though, I guess it was kind of towards the end of my tour, and being on the boat. I used to. My family is from Maryland, so like it was always really close. It was a short hop up there for me. It was like a 4-hour drive, so I used to go home a lot. And then, you know, kind of what I did, like I was always really busy. I had a ton of friends, and like we were always partying here in Virginia Beach, and I used to go home a lot. And like there was a period of time where like basically everyone that I knew that I was really close with in the Navy on my boat got out of the Navy, so all my friends basically got out and went home, and I didn't have any friends, and I was basically just in an apartment by myself for a while, so I would just go home a lot. Basically party and like just distract myself. But like in that time, like those were probably like the first times that I really started to be like, oh shit, like I might have to transition. Like I started having like, I don't know, I had a lot more free time. I had a lot more time to think about things and like kind of get up to my own machinations, you know, like just kind of do my thing and like not have to worry about outside influences. And you know, I'm just innately drawn to that shit, and it was just kind of like unavoidable. Like, why would I not? So, you know, I was cross-dressing a lot and like doing a lot of exploration with my gender. And there was a time where like it really freaked me out, and I was just like, I was in the Navy, like, and you couldn't transition at this time, and I was just like, dude, there's no way this can be my life, right? I like. Like this is like, I mean, my family never would have accepted me at that time. Like none of the friends that I did have at the time would have. Like it just seemed so unfathomably unrealistic to me at the time. So what I ended up doing was basically just like I repressed super hard, and I purged. And like I don't think people really talk about purging. You know, typically purging is like discussed hand in hand with like getting rid of your clothes and like things that you used to like explore your gender with. I think for me, purging was like ditching like intentionally boxing up a piece of my personality and putting it away, and just refusing to acknowledge it. Dogs, stop. Sorry, my dogs are being stupid. Can you guys lay down? Go lay down, Lou. Seriously, go lay down. Go lay down. Yeah, so purging, I think I intentionally boxed up a piece of that, or that personality, or that part of my personality, and just refused to acknowledge it even existed. Which was completely unrealistic to think that that would be a long-term solution. But that's what I did. And I was like, you know, I kind of doubled down and really coped by trying to stay busy and just being masculine and like just doubling down on what I was at that time. Really, I just like I was partying a lot. I was going home all the time. I was always traveling. I was always partying all weekend. Literally all weekend I would party. I had a close group. I was friends with a group of guys back home, and it's all we would do. And like I ended up meeting my ex during that time, and you know, I was kind of head over heels for her, but it was also like novel, and I was getting to an age where it was just like, I have to man up now and like get married, or this is probably never gonna fucking happen for me, because I had the gender stuff just brewing in the background. Like I knew it was there, right? Like it was never fucking going anywhere. Um, I just didn't want to deal with it. So I used every other avenue available to me to compensate for this lack of identity integration that I had at the time. So that went on for a while. And then I got serious with my ex, and she moved in. And that's kind of when everything, I think, started to change for me. Everything really slowed down. Life really slowed down. And I was forced to examine things and deal with things that I wouldn't have had I just stayed busy. Um, it's like I think you get to know yourself, right? They say that you get to know yourself in times of solitude, and because you have nothing to preoccupy your brain space. So kind of after my ex moved in and we started getting serious, like I started getting really fucking depressed, like complete loss of self. I wasn't really exploring my gender because I didn't have a place to do that. I was fucking engaged, you know. I played a lot of video games. Like I got super addicted to video games, and like that's all I wanted to do was just like take up my brain space and like, give it something active to do, and like so I just didn't have to think about this or weigh these consequences, or think about the impact. And like I was so full of shame, I just like it allowed me to escape myself. I think a lot of people could probably relate to that, in some form or fashion. But yeah, that's kind of what happened. And then I ended up going to shore duty, and this went on for years. I gained a ton of weight. Was super unhappy. Hated everything really. I hated who I was. Um, yeah, and I was just like totally repressed. And about a year before I got out, I guess I started really talking to my dad about getting out and like becoming a civilian and doing the civilian stuff, and just getting out of the Navy, because I was miserable. At the time, I just thought it was maybe the Navy, but I wasn't really being true to myself. So I ended up getting out in February of 2019, and I didn't really have a plan. I just kind of went for it. But I was always good with computers because I was heavily addicted to video games. So I basically was just like, I'm really good at computers because I spent so much time on them. I'm gonna get a degree in computer and information science. So that's what I did. I enrolled into a program, a college locally, and I got my associates and my bachelor's in like 2.5 years. Went through a lot of like financial stress in that time, but like, there was so much free time. I mean, COVID kind of happened during the time period too, and I was home a lot, and like my gender stuff was just boom, forefront of my mind. Like I could not think about it. It became all encompassing. I think I was in my early 30s at that time. Um, it became so undeniably prevalent, like in all of my thoughts, like, how, like who I was, and like how people perceived me, how I showed up in the world. Like it was all that's all I could think about. And I started taking a ton of selfies, and like got really critical of my appearance, and like was trying to figure out, like, I used face app a lot, like trying to figure out like if I looked this way, is there a possibility I could ever be feminine? And like I went through this negative cycle for years, and it was horrible. But like I'd say about a year into me getting out, or a year and a half into me being separated and being a civilian, I came out to my ex. I was having a lot of issues with mental health at that point. Anxiety was terrible. It was so bad. And I was really just looking for any way to fix that. And I thought, I was like, I've been repressing this my whole life, and probably has a lot to do with it because I can't stop thinking about it. I came out to her, and I mean, that forever changed the trajectory of my life, honestly, in our relationship. But this video got really long, a lot longer than I kind of thought it would be. And there's definitely more that I want to talk about. Um, I think I'm just going to leave this as like a part one of a two part series or whatever. But thanks for watching. Tune in for the next episode.